I think I have a COVID-19 prevention breakthrough. I want to share it with you, and it's really, really simple. A lot of people around the world have caught COVID-19, but there are also lots of people that have been exposed to the coronavirus. It's in their system, but they have no symptoms at all. Basically, they've got it, but it's dormant and poses no threat. You want to find out what these people are doing, do it, and get your body to a state where if you're exposed to COVID-19 or any other strain, the flu, you won't get sick. I'm really confident I know how to make this happen, and that's what I'm going to be sharing with you in this video. In April of 2020, the San Clemente Times newspaper wrote this article about my approach. And I'm the author of a book titled Never Get Another Cold. And for the last 16 years, I've been teaching my students how to avoid catching colds and the flu. I've been really successful at this, and my research caught the attention of New York Times best-selling author Gene Stone. Now, Gene is the author of the book that accompanies the super successful documentary Forks Over Knives. And Gene wrote this book, The Secrets of People Who Never Get Sick. And in this book, he wrote an entire chapter about me. Now that should indicate that I might know just a little more than the average person about how to stay healthy. And the way that I discovered my information was by interviewing people who never get sick. Now it might seem a little unbelievable that there are people walking around that have never had the flu that don't get sick. Think again. Watch this video. Well, Lucia, how old are you?
I'm 60 years old.
You're 60 years old. How long has it been since you've had a cold?
More than 20 years. Actually.
More than 20 years. How long has it been since you've had the flu?
That has been 55 years.
Okay, let me get this straight. You haven't had the flu in 55 years in a row.
That's right.
Okay. How many of those years did you have a flu shot?
Only 2 years. They didn't really have flu shots that I recollect, and I had them twice, and actually I don't know why, because I never get the flu.
Okay, so 55 years in a row, you made it through flu season and you didn't get sick. To what would you attribute your tremendous track record of great health?
I attribute that directly to the diet as outlined in your book, Never Get Another Cold. I eat just exactly like that.
Hey, I'm Mike Finnerty. I'm 46 years old, live in Orange County, California, originally born in Ireland. Never had a flu ever that I remember of. Colds, very rare, and I've never been held up for more than a day and never actually been bedridden with any type of illness. The cold may be a slight sneezing or something like that, but it's never held me up. My diet is exactly the diet that Thomas has in his book, and it has been my diet all my life. And I attribute that to the success of my health, I guess.
Well, Rosanna, you've been following the NGAC, that's short for Never Get Another Cold diet, now for quite some time. Why don't you tell me a little bit about what this diet has done for your health?
Well, I'm a school teacher, and in my 11-year career as a teacher, every year I've gotten sick or I've gotten the flu. Last year I started the NGAC diet, and since I've done that, I have not gotten sick and I haven't gotten the flu. And in that time, we even had 2 rounds of flu run through our school. I had kids coming up hugging me, so I thought for sure I was definitely gonna get the flu, and I just didn't. I didn't get sick at all. And even come to mention it, in the past years when I did get sick, there was times I had a flu shot, and I got sick anyway. So I was really amazed that this past year I didn't get the flu at all.
So let me get this straight. So in your 11-year history as a teacher, every single year you would get sick, sometimes more than once.
Yeah, sometimes more than once.
With colds or with the flu. And last season, before flu season hit, you started the NGAC diet, and that was the first time in your history that you didn't get sick.
Yeah, I would say that's the very first time.
But that's not the end of the story, is it?
Because no.
That was last year, and this is yet a new flu season, and we're quite a ways into it. Well, tell me about this season.
Well, this year, I still haven't gotten sick at all. I've still been following the diet. I can tell the flu season's in because I've had teacher friends calling me. They're sick. They're not going into work. I've had to translate for teachers for conferences. They haven't come in because they got the flu. Family members have been sick. The students have been sick. And here I am, and I haven't been sick, and I don't have the flu. So I really attribute that to the NJC diet.
Since Halloween, or I guess between Halloween and the end of the year, in that time period, everybody in the office area that I work in has caught a cold or a virus or both. Everybody's caught something, with the exception of me. I've not caught anything. Also, in my family, each of my kids has caught a cold, sometime between Halloween and Christmas. And usually, when my kids catch a cold, then they pass it on to my wife and myself. This year, my wife did catch the cold after the kids caught it, but I didn't catch it. And I've been cold-free, completely healthy, no sickness, no nothing. And I attribute that to following this diet plan that you recommended in your book, How to Never Get Another Cold. And I started doing that a few months back. I've been 100% healthy, ready to roll all the time. And it's been great. Usually once a year, I'll catch a cold. And typically I'll catch a cold around, this time when everybody else seems to get a cold. And really in particular, when my kids catch a cold, most of the time when it's around this Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's time, I'll catch a cold from my kids. But this year it hasn't happened. And I haven't had a hint of anything. No scratchy throat, there's been no instances where I thought I was catching a cold and it went away. My immune system seems to be rock solid, and I attribute it to this diet that I'm following. Seems to have made a big difference, and I appreciate it.
Now, at this point, you're probably wondering, what on earth are these people doing to stay so healthy? Well, the answer is really simple. After interviewing people like Lucia Bartoli and Mike Finnerty and others that never get sick, a common thread emerged. They don't eat anything that sends a jolt of acid into their system after consumption. Now, there are two ways to measure this. Number one, you can check your pH. This is pH testing paper. And after you've eaten a meal, first time you go to the bathroom, if you just pee on the test paper, you can check the color of the paper, and that'll tell you whether that meal was really acidic or alkaline. What we want is an alkaline meal. Now, the other way to test is by testing your blood glucose level. If it spikes after a meal, you're in trouble. Well, in my book, I go into more detail, but the number one thing that seems to really stop the flu in its tracks, that's all previous strains of the flu, and that would be getting sugar out of your diet. The International Diabetes Federation recently published a statement that said the coronavirus may thrive in an environment of elevated blood glucose. Translation, this virus may like sugar. And that's exactly what I've found to be true with all the other strains of the flu that we've had up until now. Lucia and Mike, the people in the testimonial that haven't had the flu, that never get it, that's one of the common threads that they told me about. They don't eat sugar. They don't eat things that have a lot of sugar in it. They don't eat things that convert to sugar after you eat it, like pizza, pasta, white rice, basically refined carbohydrates. So they've, over a lifetime, created dietary habits that don't spike their blood sugar, so they don't get sick. Now, Rosanna had a typical American diet before she started my approach. And my approach is to eliminate things in your diet. This is part of it. To eliminate things in your diet that spike your blood glucose levels. So she did that. She got rid of all the sugars and the things that would make that happen, and she immediately stopped getting sick. So if you're eating anything with a lot of sugar, like soft drinks, energy drinks, candy bars, desserts, ice cream, you're going to be creating within yourself an environment that's really hospitable to a virus. You can also do the same thing by drinking alcoholic beverages. Now, some alcoholic beverages do spike your blood glucose level, but some don't, like vodka. You can drink a glass of vodka, and although it's really acidic, your blood glucose level doesn't necessarily spike. That's why it's important to be able to test yourself with pH test paper in addition to testing your blood glucose level to find out exactly what you're eating is crossing the line. What I discovered is that people seem to have an acidic threshold. And if you cross it, you could go from being healthy for decades and in one meal make yourself into a host for a virus. You've heard stories of people that get the flu and they get well and then they get a relapse. And everybody's wondering, oh my gosh, you must have a cycle. Well, what about the possibility that they just re-spike themselves with another jolt of acid? Let me tell you my story. The reason I started writing my book, Never Get Another Cold, was because back in 2001, I got really, really sick with a terrible virus, and it lasted about 3 weeks. I had coughing, laryngitis, the whole 9 yards, sore throat. And I'd been healthy for about a week, and to reward myself, I had a Dove bar, which is an ice cream bar loaded with refined sugar. I didn't have any idea that I was injecting myself with something that would make me sick, but I did it. The next day I felt under the weather. 48 hours later, that virus came back with a vengeance, and it was worse the second time. Another 3 weeks of just terrible laryngitis, coughing, sneezing, runny nose, the whole thing, flu symptoms. I got well, waited about a week, and still clueless, to reward myself, yep, I had another Dove bar. The next day I felt under the weather. 48 hours later, I was toast. And this last round was even more severe than the first two. I had laryngitis that really affected my vocal folds, and I was sick of getting sick. So I went to my doctor and I said, well, what on earth can I do to prevent this from happening in the future? And all he could tell me was, well, I've got this drug and this drug that can, mask some of the symptoms, help you with the fever, lozenges for your sore throats. I go, no, you don't get it. I don't want to mask the symptoms. I want to prevent the illness. He said, well, Thomas, there's no cure for the common cold. Well, yeah, but to be cured of something, you have to catch it. I want to know how to not catch it. He had no answer. So right at that moment, I had an epiphany. Why don't I just interview people that never get sick? And so that's what I started doing, and that's where all of this information came from. Now, to make absolutely sure that I was on track, 100% accurate, I tracked down 6 of the sickest people that I know and asked them to help me out. They were getting sick all the time. They were sick of getting sick. And actually, Rosanna was one of the people in the study. And I tracked their progress for 2 years. And the group had 27 either cold or flu episodes in the year prior to starting the study. They all agreed to start the dietary approach I write about in my book. And in that 2-year period, only one person caught a cold once. If you do the math, that translates to a 98% decrease in the number of cold and flu episodes in a 2-year period. So I knew I had something really significant, but I decided to test this just one more time. So I used myself as a guinea pig, and it was on a Sunday. We went down to downtown Disney, to Naples Pizza, and I ate an entire personal pizza, which is loaded with pizza dough with, it's a refined carb. It's going to spike my blood sugar. And I've been healthy for a long time because I've been following the diet of the people that never get sick. So I was a great candidate to see just how accurate this information was. Sure enough, the next day I felt under the weather. 48 hours later, cold and flu symptoms, sore throat, laryngitis, coughing. It lasted about 3 weeks, 2 to 3 weeks. To make absolutely certain I was feeling perfectly healthy again for another week, we went down to Naples Pizza and I did it again. I had another personal pizza. The next day, felt under the weather. 48 hours later, yep, I was full-blown sick. What I deduce from this is that these viruses, they seem to be able to stay in a dormant state inside your body for a long time. But they're dormant. They can't do anything. They don't make you sick until you spike your blood sugar. And then all of a sudden, once they gain a foothold, you're going to get sick. And that's all there was to it. So I knew I had relevant information. I tested it personally. I talked to people that never get sick. And I had a whole group of people that got sick all the time that immediately stopped getting sick after they started eating kind of a no sugar, no acid diet, or low acid. And I'm not saying no sugar, because you can have some fruit sugar as long as you don't spike your blood glucose levels. So low sugar fruits are fine to have. I put them in my salads, but I'm careful. And another really big thing to watch out for would be smoothies, because in a smoothie, usually there's a lot more fruit in that smoothie than you could possibly eat in one sitting, and it's liquefied, so you can drink it really fast. And that means all that sugar in the fruit can get into your system quickly. Like, for example, if you have a smoothie with one apple, it's about 20 grams of sugar. A banana, maybe another 13 or 14, so let's say we're up for 34. What if you have coconut juice as your base? That's 8 grams. Now you're at 42, and throw in some strawberries, maybe another 5 or 6 grams. So you're up to close to 48 grams of sugar in your smoothie. Now, if you ate this stuff really slow, it'd still be a little iffy, but in a smoothie, you can drink it quickly and make yourself into a host for a virus. So the solution is so simple. If you want to protect yourself in the way that Lucia and Mike did from the coronavirus or any other cold or flu that happens to be going around, simply avoid eating anything that causes an acidic jolt to your system. You want to not cross your acidic threshold, and the number one way to avoid doing that is to avoid things that contain a lot of refined sugar. Now, I've talked a lot about the foods you want to avoid eating to keep from catching a cold or getting the flu. Now let's talk about some of the foods you want to be eating. All the people I interviewed that never get sick, that never catch a cold or get the flu, they all eat a lot of vegetables, and they limit their meat consumption for those that do eat meat. The balance I like to recommend would be eating 4 times as many green vegetables as you do meat. So if you decide to indulge in a 4-ounce filet mignon, you're going to want to balance that with something like a pound of broccoli. I think you can see that's going to be a little tricky, so the bottom line is limit your meat consumption. The next thing you're going to want to do is drink a lot of water. All the people that never get sick make their primary beverage water, and they drink a lot of it. What I like to recommend is drinking 1 liter of high-quality alkaline water for every 50 pounds of body weight. So if you weigh 150 pounds, you'll be drinking about 3 liters of water per day. Now, I'm pretty fortunate in that the water right out of my tap at my home has a pH pretty close to 7.5. And on top of that, I purchased an ionizer which pumps the pH up to about 9.5. But you want to make sure that the water you're drinking is alkaline and not acidic. First thing to do is simply get the water tested where you live. If you're buying bottled water, read the label. Often it'll tell you on the label the pH. A lot of the really expensive bottled water, the kind that comes in glass bottles, is really acidic. It's not healthy to drink, so you want to make sure you read the label and know the acidity level of the fluid that you're sicking into your system. Remember, viruses thrive in an acidic environment, so you want to keep the fluid that you throw into your body, you want to keep that nice and alkaline so you have your best shot at staying cold and flu-free.